point, and that is also the topic which I have given for your project also. Clear? Don't be in a hurry, do part by part. Yes, judiciary we were doing. So first of all, we have completed the legislature part, then we have gone to the executive part, and finally I have started with the judiciary part. Now, what was the last part which I have told you about judiciary? That structure of the Indian judiciary. Or after that, did I teach you anything? After the structure of the Indian judiciary, did I teach you anything else related to this topic? Term of the office. Okay, thank you very much. Now, first of all, I'll talk to you about the functions of the judiciary later on, as I usually do. First of all, I'll talk to you about the Supreme Court. Oh, yes, I have already started also, Supreme Court. Supreme Court, number of judges, term. Yes, I have done that, term of the office. Thank you very much. So now I will talk to you about what? Jurisdiction. Jurisdiction means powers. Powers of the Supreme Court of India. Powers. Jurisdiction means powers. The first one is original jurisdiction. Original jurisdiction. The first power is known to be original jurisdiction powers of the Supreme Court of India. Now, what do you mean by the power of original jurisdiction? Original jurisdiction means that there are certain cases, there are certain cases which can be introduced only in the Supreme Court of India and no other courts of India. Clear? So, original jurisdiction power is the power of the Supreme Court to deal with those cases which can be introduced or which can be decided only in the Supreme Court of India, and no other courts of India has been given the power of original jurisdiction. But here I will tell you one thing. It is, the high courts of Madras, Mumbai, and one more, I suppose I forgot the name. Previously, before the Britishers, before independence, the high courts of these three states, I suppose, yes, they were having the power of original jurisdiction. So, the government after independence, they decided that let the power of original jurisdiction be there with them, although they do not use their power, but the power of original jurisdiction stays or it retains with them. But remember, most of the cases for original jurisdiction, they will always be going to the Supreme Court and no other courts of India. Now, let me talk about those cases which fall under original jurisdiction. For example, there is a problem between the union government, a conflict between the central government of India as well as the state government of India, any one of the state government, or two or more state governments. Clear? For example, there is a problem between the central government, that is the central government at New Delhi, and maybe the government of West Bengal. Clear? So, this is such a case which cannot be decided in any high courts. So, obviously, this case will go to which court? Obviously, the case will directly go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court will have the power to decide over those matters. Now, take for an example another cases, like for example, there is a conflict between two state governments, like maybe take for example between Orissa and West Bengal. Clear? So, here also you cannot decide the case either in West Bengal High Court or in the High Court of Orissa. So, naturally you have to take the case to the Supreme Court of India. So, what is original jurisdiction? Original jurisdiction means those cases which can be introduced and which can be decided only by the Supreme Court of India and no other courts of India. This is the first one. Second one is appellate jurisdiction. Appellate. It comes from the word appeal. Yesterday only when I was discussing about the structure of the Indian judiciary, when I was deciding about the structure of the Indian judiciary, I told you that the Supreme Court is the highest court, followed by the high courts, and then you have the lower courts or the subordinate courts. Now, what do you mean by the power of appeal? It means that your case is there in the high court, clear, your case is there in the high court, and the decision which is given by the high court, you are not satisfied with it, and you want to take the matter to the Supreme Court. So, in this case, what you will have to do, you will have to make an appeal to the Supreme Court. But before making an appeal, what you have to do is that you have to take the certification. This is very important. That means the High Court will issue one certificate, and on the basis of that certificate, you can appeal to the Supreme Court. But if the High Court will not give you any certificates, then you cannot do that. You can move, you can make an appeal to the Supreme Court, clear. But remember that appeal must be certified by that particular High Court. It can be for civil cases, it can be for criminal cases, constitutional cases, any cases you can take it for appellate jurisdiction, clear. And the final, which is another power of the Supreme Court, is the power of advisory jurisdiction. Now, what do you mean by advisory jurisdiction? Advisory jurisdiction means the power to give advices. The power to give advices to whom? Now, if the President of India asks for advices, then remember the judges of the Supreme Court, they are bound to give him advice. Maybe the President of India needs some advices on legal matters related to law. Then the judges of the Supreme Court, they are bound to give them give advice to the President. But the President may or may not accept it. That is according to the President, that he can accept the advice or he may not. But it is binding for the President, for the judges of the Supreme Court to discuss to give advices whenever the President of India asks the judges for any legal advice. Apart from these three powers, you know, the judicial powers, you have heard about these powers. You know, if you want to impeach the President or the judges of the Supreme Court or the High Court of India, where will the matter come? Obviously, the judicial process will be started, the process will be started from both the houses. The process will be started from both the houses as a bill for impeachment. But the final decision will actually be given by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of India. The final decision is actually given by the Supreme Court of India. And another one is judicial administration. Judicial administration, you know, the entire judicial administration of the country is actually looked after by the Supreme Court of India. What includes within this? It includes that, for example, you see that what will be the promotion of the judges, where they will go, what will be the powers which will be given to them, all matters related to the judiciary, you know, they are actually done by the Supreme Court of India. Now, there is one reason behind it, and the reason is that, you know, although in India you find that the legislature and the executive, they are closely related, but the judiciary has been kept independent. Why independent? If it is not independent, then it can never give genuine decisions. So, in order to keep the judiciary completely independent, what happens, you know, all matters relating to judicial matters, all judicial matters, they are actually decided by the Supreme Court of the country. That is, which judges will be removed from office, which judge will be transferred, who will be promoted, everything regarded to judicial administration, they are actually undertaken by the Supreme Court of India. Clear? Now, as I don't have a book in front of me, just tell me, going through your book, just tell me this particular thing, that after Supreme Court, do you have the High Courts in your syllabus? I forgot that. Just one of you see it and just tell me that whether the High Court part is there in the syllabus or not. Okay, thank you very much, Riddha. So now I will tell you that part, I will discuss that part. You see that the government is made up of, I told you it is made up of 3 parts. Clear? As India is a parliamentary form of government, these 2 organs are closely related to each other. But this particular organ, it has been kept completely independent. Why? Because matters related to the legislature, matters related to the executive, just now I was telling you na, that if there is a problem between the central and the state government, the matter will come to the Supreme Court. So if in this case, if the Supreme Court is not independent, it can never give proper judgment. So there are various steps have been taken in India, or it is mentioned in the Constitution of India, that in order to keep the judiciary thoroughly independent, certain steps have been taken. Now I will tell you the steps which has been taken to keep the judiciary completely independent. First one, see the first point. You know, if anybody is going to be selected as the judge of the Supreme Court or the High Court, must have a thorough knowledge of law. Must have a thorough knowledge of law. Not only knowledge, you will have to have a special experience also. As yesterday I was talking about that for being a judge of the Supreme Court, you have to have 10 years of advocacy in any of the High Courts of India, or 5 years as a judge of the High Court of India. So together with qualification, you must also have required experience to become a judge of the Supreme Court. Second, usually, you know, it has been accepted all over the world that the best method for appointing a judge is by the chief executive of the country. Everywhere in the world, if you go to America also, the same thing. What is that? That the chief executive, usually in a republican country like India, America, all this, the chief executive is the president of India. Clear? It has been found that the best method to appoint a judge of the Supreme Court or the High Court is by the chief executive of the country. Chief executive is actually the president of India. Third one, You know what I have written? High salary and after retirement benefits. What does this mean? That the judges must be provided with high salary. Why, you know? Because judges are also human beings. So, out of greed also, at times they may take bribes and give wrong judgments. So that, you know, what will happen in that case, people will lose their faith over the judiciary, in the judiciary, isn't it? So that the judges don't have any financial problems, they don't have to think about financial matters. What happens, you know, high salary is given to them. Not only high salary, if a judge thinks that after retirement what I will do, so let me take some bribe and keep it so that I can use it after my retirement, that will also not be genuine one. So what will happen? After retirement also certain facilities must be given to them, like you have already heard about provident fund, gratuity and many other facilities like housing. These kinds of things should be provided, so that, you know, the judges don't need to think about material benefits, that after my retirement what will happen to my family. The judges should not be worried about that. Usually, you know, the judges must have a fixed term of office. Fixed term. Why fixed term of office? Excuse me once. Fixed term of office. Why? Because excuse me once. ছিল এখানে বুঝতে পারছি না, তো এখানে কে ছিল তো বুঝতে পারছি না, অ্যাটেন্ডেন্সটা তো নেওয়া হয়নি, কজন আছে এখন? Yes, they must have a fixed term of office, which means that they should not be removed from their office for any simple reason. Why? Because if they don't have that mental satisfaction that once I am in my office, nobody can remove me without, for simple reasons, otherwise what will happen, you know, the judges cannot do their work properly. So in order to keep them mentally cool and calm, usually a fixed term, for example, Supreme Court, you know that for 65 years, for High Court 62 years. Once they enter the office, more or less it is fixed. Only if something grave wrong when they have done, misconduct or misbehavior, then only they can be impeached from the office, otherwise not. This is the fifth point, that the judges are required to follow a specific code of conduct. Clear? Being a judge, they must have to follow a particular code of conduct. They have certain rules and regulations to be followed, and these rules and regulations are expected to be followed by all the judges. So it is these 5 points which can actually keep the judiciary completely independent. Clear? Especially from the influence of the legislature and the executive. One more point can be added to it, and what is that? Independence from the legislature and executive. What does this mean? That both the legislature and the executive must not interfere in the work of the Supreme Court. This is compulsory. Clear? In the work of the judiciary, they should not interfere. So if we follow these steps, what will happen? The judiciary will be an independent judiciary, and it has been accepted by all that the best judiciary is an independent judiciary. So I keep it up till here. Next day I will just follow that part, functions of the judiciary, and I will complete the chapter and I will give you the questions. Thank you very much.